I'm Danny Flexen,
This is Joe Leigh.
and welcome to the latest edition of Who You Backing, our weekly draft-style competition. But before we get going on this week's topic, it'd be good to find out who came out on top from last week.
There's another draw, actually.
Oh,
Second draw in 3 weeks, I believe. So no
had
one's
late birds involved in this somewhere. CJ Ross.
I will take a draw considering the picks you had, but yeah, another draw.
Fair enough. Well, let's see if we can get a decisive winner out of this week's topic, which is best American fighters who do not currently have a world title. Now, they could have had a world title before. They could be making their way towards their first world title. It doesn't matter. As long as they're American, they don't currently hold a recognised Big Four world championship belt, they are in the running. And I did some research on this earlier, and there's quite a lot of good fighters to pick from, both ones who haven't won titles and ones who have held world titles in the past. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
And to decide the first pick, we always have a trivia question.
Yeah.
And this week, it's Joe's turn to ask me the trivia question. No pressure.
Yeah. This week's one's, it's not completely related, but I think you should be able to get it. So I've been doing some research this week. I was looking at 10 of the longest reigning world champions in history. If you can name 3, then that's the trivia question for this week. If you can name 3 of the top 10 longest reigning champions.
I'm almost certainly not going to get this, but I'll try it. Oh, God. Right, longest reigning.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray Robinson.
He's not on the list.
No?
No.
Oh,
no.
God. Barney Ross.
No, he's not.
God.
Think of
Joe Lewis.
Yeah, he's one. I'll give you 2 more guesses because it is quite hard.
Oh, I'm allowed 2 more guesses, aren't I? Because I've got to get 3. Oh, all right, yeah, I see how it works.
I was going to give you 3 guesses, and then you have to get all 3. But I'll give you 2 more now.
All right, Joe Lewis. Marciano.
Nope.
Oh God. Joe Lewis.
That's it. Now you've lost.
Yeah, go on. Read all 10.
Vlad Klitschko's. I thought you would have gone for one of them.
Oh yeah, Vlad. Yeah, I didn't think of Vitaly. Who else?
There was Larry Holmes, Jack Dempsey, Muhammad Ali. So
this was just longest reigning heavyweight world champions then.
Yeah.
Which means my first couple of guesses would never have been right anyway.
Oh yeah.
They weren't heavyweights.
Yeah. Oh yeah, heavyweight boxing.
I'll let you have this one because I'm confident anyway that I could still get a win in this even without the first pick, so it's fine.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I don't think you're gonna
first pick goes to you then.
I don't think you're going to pick my first pick either because it's more about the point I want to make about him, Mikey Garcia. And
he's my first pick.
Was it? You couldn't make that up. And the reason I'm picking him is because I think obviously he's a multiple weight division world champion already, but he's got a little bit of stick once coming up to welterweight. He's obviously taken a big loss to Errol Spence, but I think the fact that he beat Jesse Vargas proves he's still at an elite level, but because he was so dominant at the lower levels, it makes him almost look as though he's dropped down. But it's just the weight categories that make the difference, and people will take that as he's not that good anymore. But I still think he's an elite level, and he will get another world title, and he's definitely in the top 6 of Americans right now that haven't.
He's a great fighter. He's probably in the pound for pound top 10, even despite the loss to Spence. And
yeah,
I think if he was fighting at super lightweight, which a lot of people would like him to,
that's his ideal.
He'd start favourite with the bookies over Josh Taylor or Jose Ramirez, who hold the belts at the moment. So yeah, great pick by you, unfortunately for me. So I'll have to go down my list, and it's a difficult one because I've got kind of 3 after that, and it could be any of them really. And which one?
Yeah.
If we're saying the best. Oh God, it's such a difficult one. I'm going to go Wilder. I am going to go.
Oh, that was my number 2, mate.
Yeah, I am going to go for him just because of what he's achieved. I think I could pick others who I think maybe are more talented than Wilder, more well-rounded, or maybe have more upside. Like they've got better in there. They've got more to come in their future, whereas a lot of his best might be in his past. We don't know. But in terms of actual achievement, you can't look beyond Wilder. He's beaten absolutely everyone he's faced apart from Tyson Fury. And even then knocked him down twice in their first fight and came very close to securing the victory late on. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. I've said, and I've had some stick for this, I said in a recent video that I'd still give him every chance against the likes of Dillian
Yeah.
White, Anthony Joshua, and the other top heavyweights. Anyone apart from Fury, I think he's a very, very dangerous opponent. Long reigning WBC champion. You can pick holes in who he fought. Some of the people he didn't fight were through no fault of his own, with drug test and failures on likes of Luis Ortiz, Alexander Povetkin. But just a really dangerous fighter, and he has improved technically despite all the doubters. His jab's a lot better than it used to be. His movement's a lot better than it was before. He's quite athletic as well. Still one of the biggest, if not the biggest, pound-for-pound puncher on the planet right now, and still a really good fighter. So yeah, he's my first pick.
Yeah, there is quite a lot of cloud over his head at the moment, but people forget he's still only lost to one guy. So no, I understand the reason behind that. For me, my number two, originally number three. I think this one's a very interesting one. I'm going to go with Michael Hunter, and for me, I think it was that Povetkin performance and the way he's looked at heavyweight so far. Povetkin's a top 5 heavyweight, and for me, it was a split decision. So well, it was a draw, but a lot of people think he won that fight, and I think I slightly side with him on that one. Therefore, I can picture him fighting the likes of like an Usyk or a Joshua and putting a proper shift in, and I can see him being a real good heavyweight over the next few years.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting pick. He wasn't even on my shortlist, so I feel a bit bad. I've interviewed him a couple of times as well, and I've championed his case in the past. I think the fact that he hasn't won a world title previously and he's not quite about to challenge for one at heavyweight yet either,
Yeah,
maybe ruled him out on my side. But
yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
a really good pick. I think he was a great amateur. He's improved as a heavyweight from cruiser. He's only
yeah.
lost to Usyk, who is one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. So yeah, good pick. But it makes it a bit easier for me in that I don't have to worry about one of my previous top picks getting taken as it was in the first pick.
That's all good then.
Although I have got two that are quite, as I said, it was three, Wilder and two others, and now I've got to pick between the other two. And I
Yeah,
think they're both former world champions. They've both lost to kind of real top level fighters. But if I'm looking at who's still got more left in the tank,
I
I
think
think
yeah.
my number two is going to have to be Regis Prograis. Um,
Oh,
I just thought he was so close between him and Josh Taylor. I think Taylor's the best pound for pound boxer in Britain at the moment. Or actually, no, probably second to Tyson Fury. I always
yeah,
get Fury because you don't often think about heavyweights when you're talking pound for pound. But yeah, great fighter, Josh Taylor. Pushed him all the way. Only just came out on the loser in the end. And on away turf, I know Taylor's Scottish and they were fighting in London, but you
no,
understand what I
he
mean.
was the
It's
white fighter.
more away turf and Prograis.
Yeah,
And on the way up, he looked brilliant. I'd favour him to beat Maurice Hooker if that fight still goes ahead. Looked great dismantling Kirill Relic for the WBA belt. And just still has lots of great nights in his future, whether it's super lightweight or at welterweight. Very, very talented, adaptable, good with the jab, good on the inside as well. Excellent movement. Good thinking boxer as well. Boxing brain, probably most overused term at the moment, but still. I just really rate him and I really enjoy watching him as well.
he's very dangerous. Do you think he could do and exciting? Do you think he could do much damage at welterweight?
It depends how well he fills out into the weight. I mean, he's got the frame for it, but
Mhm.
we'll have to wait and see. I didn't think he looked huge at super lightweight, but I think
Yeah,
he could get bigger. I think the Hooker fight was going to be catch weight, wasn't it?
yeah, it
Like
was.
142 or 143,
Mm.
something like that. So that's maybe a
It's just
testing the
building
water
up
for him.
there.
Yeah, and testing the water against someone who was previously a super lightweight champion as well. So
Exactly.
that'll give us an idea of whether he can go those extra few pounds. There's obviously
Yeah.
bigger names
Mhm.
welterweight. So in terms of his career, it's not necessarily the wrong idea. But I just think at super lightweight, anyone other than Josh Taylor in the world on that night would have lost to Prograis, and I include Jose Ramirez in that.
Yeah, no, I think he's certainly got a bright future, and I think he'll be back at the top in the next few years, depending on which weight class he goes to. I think he could. I think that Hooker fight's going to be very telling. But I guess that'll lead me on to my last pick. Someone who's also come off the back of a loss for a world title. He was the world champion, Keith Thurman. Now he was quite interesting because obviously he's still got a great resume. You know, he's beat Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, but I don't know how he took that loss to Manny Pacquiao. He started too slow. I think that was the big problem. And he got back into it in the later rounds, but I still think he's going to be back because of, he's fought the top guys before and he knows what it takes to be back there. And he had one off night, but you've got to account for all the good nights he had and all the knockouts he had. And once he started slowly, he recognised that he was losing the fight. He turned it around, but he just was too late. And I think that will sort of charge him on in his next fight to realise, right, I've got to start quickly, and then hopefully before, sooner rather than later, he'll get another shot and he'll realise what he has to do this time and set the correct game plan. I think it was just down to the game plan of Pacquiao was better on that night.
Yeah, I fancied him to beat Pacquiao going into that fight. I just felt timing-wise it was right for him, but he'd had, 2 years off with injury, and then he had that comeback fight against Josecito Lopez where he looked a bit shaky at times. And you thought maybe that was good for him, that he needed to get that out of his system and go a few rounds and come through some troubles to then be ready for Pacquiao. But didn't quite work out that way, and Pacquiao turned back the clock and produced a great performance.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's the only argument against it. Other than that, I just think Thurman will be too strong for a lot of other people, and I think he still has a lot to prove. He's one of those, I can't just see him bowing out just because he's lost that one fight. I think, he's undefeated up until that. He usually finds a way, is what I'm trying to get. He usually finds a way.
Well, my number 3 has lost 3 fights, one relatively early in his career.
I know, yeah.
And 2 to the 2 very best in and around his weight class of this generation. Yeah. And he pushed them both incredibly close. It's Danny Jacobs, of course. A lot of people thought he beat Gennady Golovkin. I can't remember how I scored it. I think I might have had Jacobs winning, but I'd have to go back and watch it again.
I had G.
Yeah. I definitely don't think he beat Canelo. I'm sure we can agree on that. But it was close, and he did push him hard. And Canelo's just in ridiculous form at the moment. It'll take someone very special to beat him, as it did in the only time he's lost, of course. But Jacobs just had that first world title shot. He was probably too young and too inexperienced for it. Good amateur, but just hadn't fought the right people, I don't think, on the way up to be ready for Dmitry Pirog, who was a very good in his own right and underrated fighter at the time, and it's a shame he retired early because of his back problems. Jacobs pushed both Golovkin and Canelo hard. He's a former world champion. To win that world title, I think he beat Sergei Derevyanchenko, who, as we've seen since, is no pushover by any means. Talented guy, very big, now plying his trade up at super middleweight, which is probably the right thing considering how much weight he used to put on after the weigh-ins before fights. And it was a big advantage at middleweight, obviously less so at super middle, but maybe he'll be a bit healthier. Stamina will be a bit better at super middle, and I look forward to seeing him in big fights up there.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I think for the weight categories he's been at, he works better at super middle, and I think he's got some exciting fights that could happen there as well. As for Derevyanchenko, yeah, that guy is a serious, no knockover, as you were saying, and he's got some good names on his record as well, and I think he's. In fact, no, I don't vote for me. He's a rubbish fighter.
Well, Joe will tell people how they can vote in a minute, but let's just recap our picks before we do that. Joe, do you want to go first?
My first pick was Mikey Garcia, number 2, Michael Hunter, and number 3, Keith Thurman.
So mine were Deontay Wilder, Regis Prograis, and Danny Jacobs.
Yeah, I had all of them on my list, actually. I had 7 fighters, and then pretty much all on there, yeah.
How can people vote?
So to vote now, it'll be up in the top corner. Just click and have your say. Hopefully, one of us will win this week, and we'll see how it goes.
And as well as telling us in the comments who you think won, give us an idea of people we missed out in our 6 picks as well. They might have been on our shortlist, of course, but let us know who you think was unlucky not to make the cut.
Yeah, for sure. And then next week, I think we'll do maybe one related to Mike Tyson. He's quite an interesting topic at the moment. We've got loads to talk about. So, new topic every week.
Brilliant. Iron sharpens iron. Right. We'll see you all next week for the next Who You Back In. And thanks, as always, for joining us.